Friday's episode brings a dramatic conclusion to Megan Walsh's court case as the jury finally reaches its decision in the grooming trial. Elsewhere, Leanne faces an important choice after her recent fallout with Idris, while Abby grows increasingly worried about the worsening condition of her apartment. Eva and Ben attempt to distract themselves while waiting for news from the courtroom. At the same time, Will admits to Ollie that he's terrified after Megan warned him that she would not let things end quietly. The suspense ends when the Driscoll family receives a phone call confirming that the jury has delivered its verdict. Everyone returns to the courtroom, where the foreman announces that Megan has been found guilty on both counts. The judge sentences her to 5 years in prison, with at least 2/3 of the term to be served before she becomes eligible for release. Refusing to accept the outcome, an enraged Megan vows to challenge the verdict and insists that the battle is far from over. As she's led away, Will is left wondering whether he'll ever be able to leave the nightmare behind. Although Alia initially advised Leanne to stay away from Idris, she later changes her opinion and argues that he deserves another opportunity. Believing he made an honest mistake, Alia encourages her colleague to hear him out. Leanne remains upset over Idris secretly interfering with her phone to stop any interruptions during their hotel stay. However, an unexpected bouquet of expensive flowers from Idris begins to soften her attitude. When the pair finally meet, Leanne explains that what upset her most was being prevented from reaching Sam when he needed her support. Looking back on everything she's been through, Leanne tells Idris how much Sam means to her, particularly with Simon now living a different life, and after the heartbreaking death of her son Oliver several years ago. Their emotional conversation raises hope that the two may finally be able to repair their strained relationship. Meanwhile, Sam finds it difficult to forgive Nick for hiding the truth about Megan's trial and feels deeply disappointed by the deception. Later, Leanne visits Sam and admits she would have made exactly the same decision if it meant protecting him from unnecessary distress. Her honesty encourages Sam to think differently about Nick's actions. Elsewhere, damp and mold continue spreading throughout Abby's flat, leaving her frustrated that her landlord has completely ignored her repeated complaints. Abby has no idea who actually owns the property until she tries calling the landlord, only to discover that the ringing phone belongs to Idris, exposing his connection to the flat. The situation becomes even more alarming when young Alfie develops a persistent cough caused by the mold in his bedroom, making it clear that the housing crisis cannot be ignored much longer. Megan Walsh's story has finally come to an end in Coronation Street, after the court handed down its verdict, confirming her prison sentence for sexually abusing Will Driscoll. Megan first arrived in Weatherfield last year when Will moved to the street alongside his family after they became the new owners of the Rover's Return. She initially told Eva and Ben that she had found Will asleep inside some changing rooms and kindly offered him a lift back to the cobbles. However, once they were away from everyone else, it became clear that Megan and Will had been hiding a secret relationship from those around them. As the story unfolded, Megan carefully manipulated Will into staying silent, convincing him that their relationship was genuine while hiding the fact that she was exploiting and abusing him. For months, Will believed Megan truly cared about him, never realizing that he had become the victim of serious grooming and abuse. The first person to question Megan's behavior was Sam Blakeman, who became suspicious after noticing how unusually close she was to Will. Sam confronted his friend and warned him that Megan was grooming him, but Will refused to believe the accusations and stood firmly by his teacher. Even after being rejected, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong and continued searching for the truth. Whenever Sam tried to expose Megan's actions, she turned her attention toward intimidating him and making sure he stayed quiet. Her psychological manipulation eventually shattered Sam's confidence, leaving him emotionally overwhelmed. The pressure became so intense that Sam suddenly collapsed and was rushed to hospital. Following the frightening incident, Sam finally revealed everything he knew to Leanne, explaining why he believed Megan posed a danger. Although the allegations were serious, investigators initially struggled to arrest Megan because there wasn't enough evidence to prove an inappropriate relationship had taken place. The case took a dramatic turn after Will learned that Tim had experienced a similar form of abuse when he was younger. Hearing Tim's story gave Will the courage to recognize what had happened to him and report Megan to the police. This week, the Driscoll family attended court as Megan stood trial for her crimes. Abby's housing problems take a devastating turn in Coronation Street when a damp issue escalates into a terrifying medical emergency involving her young son, leaving her without a home. What begins as frustration over persistent mold soon becomes a parent's worst fear after Abby discovers that the conditions inside the flat have been seriously affecting Alfie's health. While stopping for a coffee, Abby vents about the state of the property and leaves yet another message for her landlord, complaining that her repeated calls have gone unanswered. She even admits she doesn't know the landlord's name because she has never managed to speak to him directly. Elsewhere, Idris attempts to repair his relationship with Alia by sending an extravagant bouquet of flowers to Speed Doll before turning up in person, hoping she will forgive him. Abby's day takes a shocking twist when she hears Idris's phone ringing and suddenly realizes that he is the landlord she has been trying to contact for weeks. Later that evening, as Abby settles Alfie into bed, the extent of the black mold covering the bedroom wall becomes impossible to ignore. The situation quickly turns frightening when Alfie wakes in the middle of the night struggling to breathe, leaving Abby terrified. Without hesitation, she phones Kevin, who rushes both of them straight to the hospital. Watching the family leave, Idris grows concerned, unaware that the neglected condition of the flat is about to create major consequences for him. At the hospital, Carl also arrives to support Abby while doctors begin examining Alfie. After carrying out several assessments, the medical team decides Alfie should remain in intensive care overnight so they can monitor his condition and perform further tests. Meanwhile, Idris and Brody return to the flat, where they are stunned by the severity of the damp and mold spreading throughout the property. As soon as Idris learns that Alfie has been admitted to hospital, he heads there immediately, but his appearance receives a hostile reception rather than sympathy. Doctors eventually deliver the news every parent dreads hearing. They confirm that the mold growing inside Alfie's bedroom directly caused his breathing difficulties and strongly advise Abby to move out of the property as soon as possible. The diagnosis leaves Abby devastated and forces her to abandon the flat, leaving her with no alternative but to move in with Kevin. Back on the street, Leanne and Alia suggest that whoever sold the property to Idris may already have known about the damp problem, raising suspicions that the situation involves more than simple carelessness. Although Idris promises to fix everything, Abby refuses to accept his explanations. After returning from the hospital, she goes back to the flat to collect her belongings and finds Idris and Brody unloading decorating supplies in an attempt to repair the damage.